In this lecture, we will discuss the orthopedic rehabilitation protocol. We starting a new playlist. First, we will discuss the upper limb, then we will go for lower limb. In the upper limb, first shoulder, and in the shoulder joint, we will discuss the first pathology, first injury, that is rotator cuff injury. In the rotator cuff, there are four muscles. Remember this by mnemonic SITS: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. These are the four muscles that form the rotator cuff. The most common injuries that cause rotator cuff pathology are as follows. There are five injuries that cause the rotator cuff pathology or injury. The first is the shoulder impingement. In the shoulder impingement, what happened? Supraspinatus tendon become painfully entrapped in the subacromial space. Supraspinatus is a muscle that is above the spine of the scapula, and its role is to do abduction 0 to 15 degree. Almost it has a role in the abduction of the shoulder. When the supraspinatus tendon is trapped in the subacromial space, it causes shoulder impingement, which also go for rotator cuff injury. Supraspinatus is the most common muscles that involved in the rotator cuff injuries. Second is the shoulder tendinopathy. Tendinopathy means destruction of a tendon. It includes two conditions: tendinosis and tendonitis. And it is very important to remember the difference between tendinosis and tendonitis. Tendinosis is a tiny tear in the tendon. It is not a severe condition, it is a mild condition. It is a tiny or small tear in the tendon. While the tendonitis is the inflammation of the tendon. Inflammation In the inflammation, the patient feel warm the area, and it is swollen, and all the signs of inflammation is present. Warm, tenderness, swelling is present in the inflammation. Third cause that cause rotator cuff injuries is the shoulder bursitis. Bursitis is the inflammation of the bursa. Bursa is present between the bone and a tendon. When it inflamed, it is called bursitis. First is the shoulder impingement that causes rotator cuff injury. Second is the shoulder tendinopathy, any degeneration of a tendon. And third is the shoulder bursitis. Fourth cause is the rotator cuff tear, when one or more of the tendons or muscle of the rotator cuff get torn. When it get cut, it causes rotator cuff tear. And fifth is the bicipital tendinopathy. It means bicipital tendon get degenerated. Biceps tendonitis, biceps tendinosis, biceps tenosynovitis. Tenosynovitis means inflammation of the tendon synovial sheath and the ruptured biceps tendon. These are the conditions that cause bicipital tendinopathy. Rotator cuff muscles, there are four: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis, and these are the five conditions that cause rotator cuff injuries. Okay, and next we will do some test to check the rotator cuff tendons. First, we have Hawkins-Kennedy test. In this test, patient flex his shoulder to the 90 degree and also flex his elbow to the 90 degree. Then the physiotherapist internally rotate the patient's shoulder, and if with internal rotation patient pain increase, then this is the sign of subacromial impingement. And in the subacromial impingement we have supraspinatus tendon, so it is the test for supraspinatus. Next is the Nair test. This is the one test, Hawkins-Kennedy. Next is the Nair test. In this test, stabilize the scapula of the patient, and therapist passively flex the shoulder with internal rotation, and with the internal rotation patient if feel pain, then it is the positive subacromial impingement sign, and it is also for the supraspinatus Hawkins-Kennedy test and the Nair test. Next we have test is the painful arc test. In the painful arc test, patient abduct the shoulder, then reverse the movement. And I tell you before, the abduction of the shoulder, the most important muscle that play a role is the supraspinatus in the beginning of abduction. When patient feel pain between the 60 and the 120 degree of the abduction, and over the 120 degree of abduction, the patient pain is reduced, and this is also the sign of subacromial impingement. The next test, that is the empty can test. In this test, elevate the arm to the 90 degree plus fully internally rotation the arm and the thumbs uh, position downward, and the physiotherapist um, use force to downward his arm, and if patient feel pain or weakness during the resistance, then this is the positive empty can test. This is the third test. This is the fourth test, painful arc test and the empty can test, and these both are for the supraspinatus tear or the impingement. And the next drop arm test, this test is also for the supraspinatus because patient abduct the arm to the 90 degree, and when the shoulder elbow support is removed by the physiotherapist, the patient not hold this movement and his arm go downward. This is the drop arm test. As the name drop arm, the patient arm is dropped and pain while lowering the arm, and from this test we can suggest it is the supraspinatus tendinopathy or tendinosis. And the next test, this is the fifth test. Sixth test is the cross arm test. In this test, the patient elevate the arm to the 90 degree, then passively adduct the arm in the horizontal direction, and the patient if feel pain, this is the pathology of acromioclavicular joint. This is the cross arm test. Next we have Yergesen test, and this is very important for the MCQ's point of view. Then Yergesen test is for the biceps tendonitis. Patient elbow is flexed to the 90 degree as shown in the picture with the arm pronated. Ask the patient to supinate, and the physiotherapist resists this movement, and also he palpate the bicep tendon. If the patient feel pain, then this is the positive biceps tendonitis. It means bicep tendon is inflamed. Next, I will discuss the rotator cuff muscles, their injuries, and the test to check the rotator cuff injuries. And our playlist is of the rehabilitation, so I will discuss the non-surgical rehabilitation phases. The first phase in the rotator cuff, we have 0 to 4 weeks of phase. In the 0 to 4 weeks, always remember the main goal is to reduce the pain. First, the main goal of physiotherapist is to reduce the patient pain because patient comes with the pain. So our goal is to painless passive range of motion and active range of motion of the shoulder. And the pain control, we use modalities. First, we use ICE if the condition is acute. ICE, ultrasound, high velocity galvanic stimulation. This is the electrical modality. Moist heat before therapy, and the icing we do at the end of the session because the patient come in the acute phase, so we go for icing. And the restriction are the avoid exercises that cause discomfort to the patient, pain, and the strengthening, because strengthening exercises we do strengthening exercises at the end because strengthening exercises start where when the pain is reduced, so avoid strengthening exercises at first. Range of motion and muscle strengthening exercises should begin with the arm is less than 90 degree of abduction. We not go for severity, so avoid range of motion exercises and strengthening exercises. Avoid abduction, rotation, increase impingement maneuver. So any extreme activity should be avoided. Always remember, avoid empty cane exercises. Okay, avoid repeated overhead abduction. Don't go for overhead abduction and the extreme movements at the initial stage. Next, immobilization may have brief sling. Immobilization for comfort only 3 to 6 days means for 1 week almost we use slings for immobilization. Exercises we go is passive range of motion exercises, forward flexion, extension, internal and external rotation, capsular strengthening of for the anterior and posterior and the inferior capsule of the shoulder. Progress to exercises, passive range of motion exercises, then we progress to the active range of motion exercises, wall walking of the shoulder, resisted pain free isometric strengthening. Isometrics means same length. So we start with the passive and go for active range of motion exercises. At the elbow joint, passive to active motion as same as the shoulder joint. Progress as tolerated, depend upon the patient. If the patient tolerated the movement, then you should go for it, but don't go for extreme exercises at the acute stage. And the strengthening exercises, grip strengthening we go, use of the arm for daily living activities. This is for the strengthening at the initial stage. Next, 0 to 4 weeks, and next we have phase 2, that is 4 to 8 weeks. In the 4 to 8 weeks, the goal is to improve shoulder complex strength, power and endurance. We go to increase or improve the patient's strength, power and endurance of his shoulder joint. Shoulder movements equal to contralateral shoulder. On the affected shoulder, we also use the movements in the all planes of the motion of the affected shoulder. Okay, we use the shoulder all shoulder motions. Exercises, first is passive range of motion, capsular strengthening, active assisted range of motion exercises with the help of physiotherapist, and active range of motion exercises. Go in this also we don't go for strengthening. Active and passive range of motion exercises. Muscle strength frequency 3 times per week, 10 to 15. Go for 10 to 15 repetition at the initial stage for the 3 sets. Begin with the closed chain. Isometric closed chain mean the distal joint remain fixed. Begin with closed chain exercises. Go for internal rotation, external rotation and the abduction movement in the 4 to 8 weeks of rehabilitation. Next, from closed chain exercises, progress to the open chain strengthening with low load. Always remember, with low load. With the elbow flex to the 90-degree. Starting position in with the shoulder in the neutral position. Also do strengthening of the deltoid muscle. Deltoid muscle work is to do abduction. Strengthening of the deltoid, strengthening of scapular stabilizers, closed chain strengthening exercises. Scapular retraction, retraction of the scapula are rhomboids. Scapular protraction, protraction of the scapula performed by serratus anterior. Scapular depression is due by latissimus dorsi, trapezius and serratus anterior. These all scapular exercises is also important because the shoulder joint, the head of humerus and the glenoid cavity of the scapula can form the shoulder joint. So scapular exercise is also necessary. And the third phase, that is of 8 to 12 weeks. In the third phase we have a goal to improve neuromuscular control and shoulder proprioception. Proprioception means joint position, awareness of the joint position. We also go for patient to return to its normal physical functional activities. Establish a home-based program for the patient at least 3 times per week for the shoulder joint strengthening and stretching. Functional exercises, it include polymetric exercises, means the patient do exercises in the various planes of the body, and here are some warning signs. There are 3 phases: 0 to 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, and 8 to 12 weeks for the rotator cuff injuries rehabilitation. And these are some warning signs: if the patient range of motion is loss of strength, power and endurance, forward elevation, persistent pain of the patient at night, we stop the exercises. Okay, don't go for exercises if the patient condition don't improve. Treatment of warning signals: patient may move to need to move back to earlier routine. If the patient not do daily activities, patient progress not improve, may require increased utilization of pain control modalities. We can go for maybe we have to go for surgical intervention. If the patient condition not improve, physiotherapist should have to refer the patient. In this lecture, we will discuss the rotator cuff muscles, their pathologies, how to test the rotator cuff, injuries, if the supraspinatus tendon, infraspinatus, biceps tendonitis, how to check them. We have some special test, and at the last I will discuss the rehabilitation protocol. And this is the very easy question for you: the difference between tendinosis and tendonitis. I describe it very simple way. Kindly comment below and answer this.